Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throw On Your Questions, episode 427. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez,
What's up, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero,
Yo, yo, yo.
Adam Vale,
How you doing? How you doing?
Brett Murdoch,
What up?
and Brian Manjoma.
What up, what up?
All right, people, you already know, back with another one. Chris has initiated, I call it the Sealy sleep now, because as he texted, dad energy went to 0, but daughter energy was at 11. So he is spent, so, good on him. I know, Adam, you're a little under the wind too right now, though.
Yeah. Chris said he wants 6 kids, so he needs to get that stamina up because
he really does. Or start walking around the block.
Struggling with one, get ready.
Yeah, that shit is crazy. All right, I'll say this now, and I'll say it during the little bit later on the show. We did not get a lot of questions, so unless you guys want this show to end in less than an hour, leave us some gaming questions in the chat if you haven't already.
Or we just talk slow.
Yeah, we just talk. I'll ask the question. It'll take me like 5 minutes to ask it. Like, imagine that.
You take all kinds of breaths.
Yeah. No, just like, why do you think Sony doesn't?
Hold up a minute.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when you enter, like, hold up, wait a minute,
and just repeat the question again over and over again. So the question was,
or for you guys who didn't hear it the first time,
yeah, exactly.
Even though it's a podcast, motherfuckers can rewind it, Anyway, let's get into it, man. Jay Shep in the house, starting us off here. Oh, by the way, Tumeke and Jay Shep asked 3 questions. Since we didn't get a lot of questions, we're just gonna let it roll. No sponsored questions, fuck it. Jay Shep, okay. After going over the CMA documents, it seems that diverse. I don't even know how to pronounce this fucking word. It was basically the sell-off was always more of a concern for cloud gaming, with you having to own a game before playing it on GeForce Now, Boosteroid, and Ubitus, which are barely blips on the radar. Do you anticipate Microsoft will soft offer a contract to Amazon Luna, which is now a real competitor in the cloud gaming space since it's in the UK market? I'm especially interested in Brett and Adam's answer, considering how well they've predicted these outcomes so far. He just wants to know, like, I guess, like, do you think Microsoft is going to make a deal to Amazon Luna because, it seems like this deal is, like, more about cloud gaming than, anything.
Well, it's really up to Amazon. Because as we've seen, Microsoft is willing to offer anybody, whoever wants it. That's why we're hearing all these services out in Europe that we've never heard of. And we're like, what the hell? There was some #1 streaming cloud service. Never even heard of this thing. But everyone over there is throwing parties on YouTube that they're getting Call of Duty now, hugging and crying in the street. I'm like, who are you people? But this is it. This is where we're going. So it'll be up to Amazon to make that choice, because there's no way at this point that Microsoft is then going to say, well, everybody except you guys. You guys, no, you're not getting it. No, I'm sure they'll want to get it if they can. They just have to play ball. And right now, from that document, that was a big bombshell when it dropped this weekend. And it's funny because I don't know if you saw the clips from it, because there's a lot of clips coming around. But one of them was like, oh, when we decided to do further investigation, we realized that Microsoft would lose a lot of money if they didn't add this game on PlayStation. Like, oh, really? You really thought they would lose some money? Like, it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. But it's definitely going to be on any platform that's willing to accept it, and with those terms. Now, the thing is, with those other services, the ones that the cloud ones, it sounds like those are to buy, just like how he mentioned. It's not Game Pass. They're not getting a Game Pass integration in there. It's like, oh no, the games will be on there, just you gotta pay for them. So it's not going to be one of those things where you sign into that service and then you sign into Game Pass via that service. It's just going to be up there, sort of like how we had it with Google, where you had to pay $60 for old ass games. It's like, oh well, at least you have it on that service if you want it. It's in the cloud. It's there.
Yep.
Yeah, what's your thoughts, Brett?
I think it's smart. I mean, okay, so look at it this way. Microsoft has every incentive to absolutely do this, because all that's really going to happen is you can have 9 different platforms all come out and say, we've got a partnership with Microsoft, and all 9 of them fail, right? And all it's going to really make it seem like is that Microsoft is pervasive. It's just across everything. So it's kind of a no-lose situation for them, right? It's a symbiotic relationship in the sense that it makes them seem more industry-wide, more industry standard. That every device that wants to partner with them seems more supported by kind of plugging into their already built infrastructure, which really goes with their business model of, I don't even want to say Steam. I think they learned a lot from Windows, to be real honest. They're like, if we're just on everything, we win. We've done this before, so I would absolutely partner with anybody who wanted to have me as a gaming partner, because you reach more people that way.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just Call of Duty. People keep bringing it up, but remember, we got Diablo, the big one that's dropping. That's the other reason why all these outlets are thrilled.
Oh yeah,
because they're like, "What? We're getting all of them? Yeah, you're getting all of them. Yay!"
Yeah. All right. Anybody? I don't have any thoughts on this. I'm so drained about this fucking deal. I just don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, even this whole thing with who's Microsoft going to lend their titles to next? The only reason where this is even happening, because isn't it interesting that there wasn't any talks of who Microsoft's going to lend their games before the Activision acquisition.
Yeah.
Now that this whole CMA FTC stuff is going on, it's like, oh, Microsoft, look, aren't they precious in letting their games into every console? Aren't they the pro consumer?
See, and that's like, when I call some BS with Uncle Phil, because he did the rounds like, oh, this was always the plan. I'm like, that's some bullshit. You would have said this right from the bat if this was always the plan.
Yeah,
like you said, Carlos, we just started hearing all these, oh, yeah, we'll put it on everything because they want to get this deal done. But before that, it was just like, oh, we're buying them. Then what? Nothing. It's going to be on Game Pass. Suck it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's. I think it's all just a.
But they'll put Game Pass on anything.
Oh yeah, they definitely would.
That's what they want at the end, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't see why they would be incentivized to keep acting like this once the deal goes through. We'll see. I sound a little bit bitter about this because I always wanted them to do Halo on PC for the longest freaking time. Remember, the Halo Combat Evolved was on PC, and then none of the other Halos for decades came out on PC, and always waited for that. Like, so their flagship game was never on PC, and it's like then recently then.
See, and I never understood that. Same thing with Gears. They had Gears 1 and they released it on PC with an exclusive mission. And then they didn't release any of the other ones. I was like, why? And then they always brag about, well, we're Windows. We've always had a platform. Yeah, well, you didn't put any of your other games on that shit. Well, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hey, hold on. Hey, Blitz, what do you mean, well, people are celebrating this shit, carry on? What do you mean by that? He'll answer. By the way, I got to give J Shep respect for, like, if he did this, like, he actually went through the documents. Good on you, bro, because that's not something I'm going to do.
I sent that out.
I am not invested in this shit,
UK.
Man.
That was nuts.
Yeah, shit is crazy. All right, any other thoughts on this before we move on to the next question?
Well, the only thought I have is from that document that now they don't see any issues with any of this. It's pretty much saying, we don't care, Sony, what you have to say. We don't see any issues, so it doesn't matter. So they didn't accept the 10-year deal. So I'm sure Microsoft is going to push their games on there anyway, but are there going to be different deals made? It's going to be like, hey, we offered you 10. You didn't want it. Nah, maybe we'll do 5. Because there's nothing stopping them now. Because they don't have to. It already got proven that they don't have to. And what if Sony says, you know what, we're not going to carry some of your games? Because that was the issue that they put with Activision when they were strong-arming them for a better deal. That they were, hey, we're the big boys out here. If you want your game on here, you're going to have to give us a better deal than everybody else. That's why they were getting Call of Duty at a discount. So are they going to try to pull that shit with Microsoft? Hey, all right, so fine, we didn't take the 10-year, but you got to give us a better deal, or else we're not going to put Call of Duty on here. Then well, I don't know how they're going to pull that one off, especially if they're trying to make Microsoft look like the bad guys. With they're gonna pull Call of Duty from here. Well, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how the relationship plays out once this is all said and done. That's the big issue.
Do you think context is going to matter, Adam? Like, do you think if Microsoft came out and said Sony has chosen not to partner with us and have Call of Duty would have any different kind of ringtone?
Yeah. We see that all the time with cable and stuff on TV when it's like, hey, you might be losing this channel because so and so is trying to strong arm us and ask for more money, blah 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 blah, and raise your rates. So send them a letter and this and this. I could see them putting pressure for the community to go after Sony. It's like, hey, listen, we wanted to give them a deal. They don't want to give a deal, and now they're asking for X amount or whatever. So send a message to them. Let your voice be heard on social media. Do something. I could see that. Definitely see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that kind of surprises me about this whole thing is So, like, the main response I've seen lately to this, which I found interesting, has been a lot of people being like, every time it seems like the deal's going to go through, people are like, oh, cool, so I'm just not going to buy Diablo then. Like, it already seems that it's more ingrained into the audience than I thought, that, they're like, oh, Xbox games, you just get Xbox games. So if they get Xbox, if they get Activision, then we just get Xbox Activision games for free. So cool. It's I don't know. I guess you don't have to wrap the pill in the peanut butter anymore. Like, people just kind of understand the deal. And I think the only thing that's really holding Game Pass back is, lack of games. So I just find it, really interesting that people are so ready to change gears or stop or pull their pre-order or whatever. And I think that'll be really interesting to see if there's a lot of pre-orders canceled.
It's going to be, because even if it gets done, they're talking about like April 26th, right? With all the documents and all that go through. You still have the FTC. That's all on that end. But then the FTC has to follow with the CMA, which we assume they will, because it makes no sense, because that was their same argument. It's like, oh, they're monopolizing, blah, blah, blah. Well, they've already proven in Europe and stuff that's not the case. So once that goes through, then we have to see how long it takes for them to integrate Activision titles into Game Pass and do that whole thing. And so I don't think it's going to be like a switch that once they say, hey, today, Friday, whatever, we officially purchased them, and starting Monday, all the games are on Game Pass. It may take time. When does Diablo 4 come out? When is that?
It's in June.
July.
Oh, July.
July.
Wait, no, it might be June. It might be June.
I think June. See, so we got some months. So it all depends. It could cut it close. I don't know if it's enough time for them to do all of that and to sink it in. But for those who just hold off for at least summertime, they should be fine, because you would assume that all those games will be on Game Pass by the summertime. And there you go. Then, yeah, save some money. So, yeah, you're not part of the launch party when it comes to the game, but in a few months after that, you'll be okay, because it's all part of your subscription and you can play it on any platform. Because that's the big thing. It's not so much just, play it on Xbox Game Pass. It's the fact that at one price, and that game is everywhere, that you could play it on your phone, as opposed to if you buy it on your PlayStation, then your buddies want to play. And I know it's going to have some cross-play, but remember, like last time with some of them, Sony doesn't like to play nice with some of the other ones, but who knows? We'll see. Hopefully it does. And then people would usually have to double dip. And if it's all on one platform on the service, and you don't have to pay $60, $70 for different platforms, then it saves money. So it works out. So we'll see. I don't know if you're a diehard fan, I don't think you're going to cancel your order, because we don't know when that turnaround time for it to jump on Game Pass is. So, you guys play the demo? Anybody here play that demo?
I'm going to guess Brett.
No,
I did. Sorry, I'm on mute. I had bacon coming out of the oven. It's very important. No, I played the demo. I actually played the demo twice, both to level 20, because I am that kind of uber nerd. I wanted to get an idea. First weekend, I suffered through a KFC dinner to get myself a beta code, which really wasn't that bad. Played a sorcerer through like about level 20, and then realized yesterday that I was like, oh shit, you can play the Necromancer this weekend. I thought I just wasn't going to be in the beta, so I was like, oh, I got to try the Necromancer, and got to jump in, and I'll be honest, man, having a lot of fun. Like, I am definitely in the school of, if you didn't like Diablo 3, this is probably a game for you. If you were a big fan of Diablo 3, I don't know, man. You may want to go off and play Gauntlet or Torchlight or some shit. So like it's fun. It feels like a return to form for Diablo. A couple things barred, but I really like the hybrid MMO thing.
I heard they took out a few
like
classes. The Warlock, which Witch Doctor is gone.
I'm sure they're gonna bring out new classes as time goes on. That'll be one of their content things. Hold on. There we go.
I'll wait till it comes out. I was thinking about playing. I was like, I'm not going to mess with my stuff like that because I hate when I play something. Either it hypes me up and then I just keep thinking about it and looking at the clock, or then it ruins it for me. And then I was like, shit.
See, I thought a couple months was a good enough time. Like, that'll scratch the itch for a little bit. And then, by the time it comes back around, I'll be ready to replay it. And I kind of figured if, I can get any of you guys to play, it'd be nice to kind of have that leading edge of.
I'll play. I'll be on there when it comes out. I'll be on.
What's that?
I'll play when it comes out. We can jump.
Heck yeah! All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely in there.
All right, cool. Moving on here. Second question. Pentiment has won the GDC's Best Narrative Award, beating out the highly awarded God of War Ragnarok. Have any of you guys had a chance to play Pentiment, and what are your thoughts? I know about Pentiment because there was a couple of guys in the, who I work with that really, really enjoyed it. Definitely not a Tony game, so that's why I didn't play it. And just because it won, Best Narrative at GDC won't make me play it either. I'm not that type of person. Like, oh, we got an award, I have to play. It's like, I don't rock like that, Has anybody else here played this game or heard of it?
No. But I appreciate that that it has a different style. It sort of looks like a illuminated manuscript style. As I remember, that game is an ID at Xbox game. So,
yeah, the basic premise is it's like super historically accurate, and it's like it doesn't hold your hand. It just throws these fucking medieval terms at you and just expects you to fucking know them. Which is, if you're into that stuff, you're going to really dig it, because like the amount of detail they went into with the background and everything is a lot. It's just, gameplay wise doesn't seem appealing to me.
I'll say something controversial.
What's up?
We got the time. God of War story isn't that great. I mean, it's presented well, it's fun, but that's like, wanting to fucking give an Oscar to a Michael Bay movie. Like if you break it down, it wasn't BioShock. It wasn't some of these industry leading games. It was a cool story, but I guess so was Scorpion King. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wait, bro, you're going to say something controversial?
Yeah. We've always said that. We said with God of War Ragnarok, the story is good, but the real reason why people like it a lot is because of the characters. Like their character arcs are what makes it. Yeah, because the plot is just your basic plot or whatever. It's really about the character growth that you've seen, culminate over the course of so many games, which is what's satisfying to people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just don't. I think, to be honest, I think a lot of times when certain things get certain categories, it's mostly based on what things that people have played, who are doing the nominations.
Yeah. So, and Pentiment was definitely a one of those. How do I say this nicely? Brian, what's the equivalent of Oscar bait for the game industry? It's that,
I believe that's called Last of Us.
Oh man! But
you notice The Last of Us. But you notice The Last of Us didn't get any of those.
That's because it's an old game. That's why.
Yeah, it's because it's old games. But yeah, I could understand why that game might have won, is because it's just the amount of detail that they sort of went into, into sort of telling this plot. Mm-hmm. And plus, it's a new game. It's not just a sequel of a sequel of a sequel.
Yeah, it is a brand new game
of a sequel of a sequel of a sequel.
Yeah. Next time it'll be a
Where's
sequel.
Exhibit, man? Man, you like sequels? I got a sequel of a sequel of a sequel.
Yeah, I appreciate. Again, I appreciate what they they did with it, but again, for me, not something I would play, but good stuff.
Yeah, good on them.
The universe is open to all kinds of stories and all kinds of styles.
Yeah. All right. Next question here from Mr. J. Shep. He goes, rest in peace to the late great Lance Reddick. Yes, indeed, sir. Bungie recently announced that the actor still has a few more performances left in Destiny 2. What are your thoughts on continuing to use the late actor's voice after his passing? That's fine. They already have it recorded.
Yeah,
you know?
But he was also a player. He was a fan of that game. Like, he played it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a job for him.
Yeah, he liked playing the game. I mean, even from his wife's post about him, that she really was thankful to the Destiny crowd because he liked to play it. He loved that game. So
I know that they're talking
Good
about
stuff.
putting a statue for him in the game, like this whole tribute thing that people can visit and stuff.
Yeah, people have
It's-
been
it's-
visiting his character and stuff in the Citadel or whatever the fuck it's
Yeah.
called.
yeah, just to hear him speak.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's sad, when and then also the thing is like realizing how many games he has legitimately done work for. Like he's done stuff for what was it, Remedy on Quantic Break. He did a bunch of different types of games. He's literally the villain of Horizon Zero Dawn. So it's a huge loss to pretty much every single thing that it could involve acting that he has been involved
Yeah.
with.
So I saw the John Wick, the new one, John Wick 4, and I'm not spoiling anything, but it's just sad. It's just sad what happens with all this. It's just sad.
Yo, man,
No, the only reason why I say that is, and it's not a spoiler, it's just because everyone was wondering how come he wasn't part of this and that, all the different promotions. And when you watch it, you see why. But then it's
this guy.
It's true because people want to know. I'm not saying anything what happens.
No,
You
he's
don't
basically-
have to.
Yeah. Now he's basically saying it's just sad that Lance isn't around to promote the movie or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't promote
Yeah.
it and couldn't do any of that stuff.
Oh, I thought you. Oh,
No, he wasn't
I
talking.
think-
He's not talking about the character. He's talking about the actor.
Oh, I thought he was
Yeah.
talking about the character in
No,
the
no,
movie.
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no,
what?
no,
No,
I
Adam
was
wasn't
like-
spoiling it like that.
No.
I'm
he's
not
talking about-
spoiling it, but what happened in
That's-
real life just happened in that movie.
No, there was definitely something that was possibly going on with him.
Yeah.
That he wanted to be home for instead of out on the streets for.
So like you think that you might be able to tell that he was not well?
I think he may have known that he wasn't well. It just seemed odd a little odd that he wouldn't have shown up at any of the any of the promotional events and all that other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, I do have special correspondence from Mr. Richard Bailey Jr.
Oh yes.
He says, I am watching Throwdown, and I have to say, I really enjoyed John Wick 4. And that seems like it's all across the board with that movie.
I mean, the way they integrated the Warriors into it, even bringing the nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It was awesome. I was like, oh, this is great. I was just waiting for the Fury to come out with their baseball paint and stuff. Like, oh, here we go. Bring everybody back.
They should have had what's her face on the radio.
They had someone do
Hello.
that. They didn't have her there, but no, she
Hello,
passed
you
away.
cats.
She passed away.
I know. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Because she was a judge in Where in the World is Carmen San Diego or something.
Yep,
I
she was
remember her
on
from
there.
that.
She had a lot of character roles.
By the way, I've only ever seen the first John Wick movie, but I still find it hilarious. You know how I got to watch that movie? The way Manny promoted it, he was like, Tony, Keanu Reeves is in the movie, but it works because he barely talks. I'm like, okay, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yep, that's it.
He
He barely talks. When he does talk, it's important.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I like Keanu Reeves and stuff, but yeah, he's not that great of an actor. But man, he literally told me we're going, yo, he doesn't talk that much.
Wait, Tony.
It's a video game movie.
Yeah,
Tony,
but I definitely want to
you-
see the others though, because that first movie was
Yeah,
fucking
I was-
awesome. Yeah.
I was about to say, if there was ever a Tony movie in this era,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely those movies.
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
not.
yeah,
Like, it's not like, oh, I don't watch. I absolutely will watch them. You know.
Well,
It's just-
those movies like that. The beauty of those movies is they know exactly what they are, and they're like, I'm going to be the best version of that.
Damn right.
And they don't
you know?
try and cram a whole bunch of shit in it. They don't try and appease to everybody. They're just like, what's really cool when like you kind of get that gun kata thing going on.
Yes.
You guys just wanted 90 minutes of that.
Shout out
It
to
reminds me of-
Equilibrium, man. You know.
It reminds me of like Fast and Furious. What Fast and Furious does for cars, this is what it does with gunplay.
Guns.
You know, that was it. I was like
Shit.
how can we add more crazy twists to just shooting people in the face? And then they do it, and it's just like, oh, he's up there with Nathan Drake with the amount of people he kills. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Lovely.
But it's awesome.
It's obscene, and like even just like the little touches, like you never see him just like tap a guy in the gut. There's always a headshot. There's always a finish.
Multiple shots, and with a straight face. It just doesn't react to it. Remember, he's the boogeyman. Like that was the whole. His name was that he was a boogeyman killer or something like that.
Completely random. Man, you gonna see that Kamen Rider movie?
I don't know. Every single time I look at it, it looks so cheap.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it now. I'm like, hey, is Manny gonna see this? I know you like Kamen Rider.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, it always. That's the one thing about Japanese movies. They always look like TV shows. They're too well lit. They're not very cinematic. They're definitely cinematic as far as angles, but not as far as lighting. Everybody's all lit, kind of fakely, but we'll see.
Yeah,
man, I wish Rockstar partnered up and made a John Wick game. It would be like a Max Payne type of thing, but faster.
I'm pretty sure if John Wick was made in like the mid 2000s, it would have had a video game for sure.
It would have, because it has one, but it's not like.
You guys talking about Max Payne?
That's right.
But the thing was, it was a slow mo. It would have to be faster and a lot more hand to hand combat, because that's the thing. It's a lot of hand to hand with John Wick.
Yep.
So it would be cool.
Let's move on here. Dumeke, who's also joining us in the chat as Blitz. So first question here, a little bit of a long one. So, which is good because we don't have a lot of questions. Maybe I should read this one slow too, All right. Anyway, with this generation limping along and quickly becoming one of the worst starts to a generation ever. Whoa, Blitz, are you actually admitting that now, man? I feel
one of us.
He's one of us, man. Even though me and Carlos, we've been saying this show before the generation started, Anyway, he goes, I feel we have passed the point of being able to blame COVID for the severe lack of games coming from all publishers, platform homers. I agree with that. What do you feel is the next? Okay, what do you feel is the next excuse for the lack of games, mainly exclusives? PS5 is meant to be the easiest platform to develop for, according to Mark Cerny, and Xbox has 23 plus studios that have not released much since last generation. Yes, games take longer to make, but surely leading into this gen, they had more games in development prior to the console release, and we are almost 3 years post-release. What the fuck gives?
Talent.
Talent.
That's what they're posting. That all of them have job openings.
Yeah.
Need this. Need art director. Need this. Need an animator. Senior animator. They're all short-handed. We've seen this in all markets. You name it. Every industry is short-staffed. They're always looking for people, and that's the same thing we're hearing here. All of them. They're constantly looking for people to work on these games, and there seems to be a shortage. Maybe people decided, what, I'd rather just play than make. I don't know what it is. But there seems to be a shortage of programmers and developers.
So you think that's going to be the excuse they give now?
That's the excuse a lot of them are using now. Ubisoft has been using that excuse. You go on their website now and you see all these. It's right underneath every page of like, oh, here's the game. Oh, by the way, careers. Apply now. So you want to be part of this project? You want to work on this game? You want to be on a new Assassin's Creed? We're hiring. And I think that's going to be the issue going forward. Why is this taking so long? Why is it so slow? Well, and now we don't have the staff.
They don't have enough bodies to throw at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I still think they're going to be using COVID for a while.
Yeah,
well, I mean, the normal cycle for games is 5 to 6 years of development, right? And this is for most titles, and AAA's probably take a little bit longer than that. So, yeah, I mean, still COVID will be falling into that section.
What was that game that just bombed? The Sony one with the girl with the horrible New York accent.
Oh, Forspoken.
Yeah, that took years and over $100 million.
That had like a 10-year cycle.
Yeah, that is crazy. And then
I think there's a lot of things that also caused not only just the COVID part toward the end of its development, but I also think that I think that Luminous engine in general was a bitch to develop for, and it's the reasoning why Square Enix essentially just abandoned using it for all of their titles for the Unreal Engine.
Yeah. But yeah, anybody else?
And I think that's the whole reason why Luminous Studios, and their engine was all split off into their thing. They were just like, okay, listen, we can't use this shit. You're the only guys that can make this piece of shit work. Keep making games, and you can keep your studio open. And if they do good, your studios will stay open. And that's possibly why as soon as this thing bombed, they said, "Oh well, bye. Let's dump this shit."
Yeah. All right. What other excuses do you think they'll come up with?
I don't know if it's I mean, I think the most prevalent one you probably hear is possibly the COVID stuff, because again it did squeak into their development. And also the other part of it, I think, and this is also a big one, developers working from home. Like I know that a lot of people had to go through a lot to just get used to working at home and trying to find how to do that sort of thing at home. So I think it's still sort of a discovery process. So I think everything's just going to be delayed.
Yeah, Carlos.
In general.
No, yeah, I feel like COVID still got a couple of years left in it, where it's going to be that pre-built factor. But yeah, it's crazy because if 5-6 years shouldn't be the standard. I mean, it should be a standard if it's a game built from the ground up and stuff like that. But when you're making a sequel, it's for especially like a lot of the sequels that we've gotten, it doesn't seem like they're that ambitious as games used to be. So who knows? Maybe like Manny mentioned, the whole working from home thing could still be used as an example. But money and that kind of stuff. But COVID's still going to be the main thing, going to be used for a couple more years.
Yeah. Adam, Blitz wants you to clear up what you said about, you said because they're looking for talent. He's asking you. So do you think are you saying that there is no talent in the industry currently working on any games?
No, it's that they're always short-staffed. They keep saying they need more hands on deck with things. At least I see this with Ubisoft, and EA has talked about it with some other titles that they want to produce. And they're always looking for more people to just work on titles. We saw this also with the 343 when they had to do the cleaning house and bring in new blood. And it's like, well, where are you getting these new talent? Where is everyone coming from? So I think that's the issue there, is that there's certain level of talent that they need for certain parts of the game process, and they just don't have it. So they'll just have to try to either work around it or just hope that they can find someone that can do it. And all that takes time. So maybe they'll say, hey, there's a certain part of this animation process we need to do. Well, can we skip it for now until we find someone that is competent and knows how to do this and has experience? It was like, yeah, I guess we could. Okay, so we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It's not that the people that are working there now aren't talented. It's just that they just need more of them. Because we've seen this all over. Every company, every industry seems to be short-staffed. And I know for a while people are like, oh, well, the people are just quitting and moving elsewhere. And there's a lot of people that just don't want to work in that field anymore and move on to other things.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? All right.
Well,
go ahead.
So, possibly unpopular opinion, but I think they're going to blame us. I think they're going to blame the market. Yeah, they're going to blame the market. They're going to talk about how, so few games actually hitch, and how it's a gamble, and how customers have been resistant to games, raising in price, and all of their measures where they're trying to meet us halfway just haven't worked. We just don't seem to want to play ball with this microtransaction thing, which means they just have to play tough love and really be sure that they give us games that we love. So it means less games because we're kind of eating tight with our wallets right now.
Sure. Remember when each game had demos and then they stopped it, and it's mainly because they were realizing that people would say, "Wow, guess what? I don't like this game. I'm not going to pre-order it. And they're like, we're still making it. Don't do that.
I think that's the reason they stopped that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is why they stopped. And then now they're bitching with certain games. They're like, sort of like we said, they're going to complain. It's like, oh, you're not buying, not supporting. It was like, yeah, because the game isn't good. And now it's $70. So now people are going to really think twice before saying, you know what, I'll just pick this up. No. They're not going to splurge like that. And now there's other options. Now you can go on YouTube and watch people do full playthroughs, and you can determine if that's something that you want to do. Back in the day, you didn't have that choice. It was a demo, or it was an image on the back of a box that had nothing to do with the game. And you're like, well, I guess this will work, and then you'll play it. Like, shit, that didn't happen in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think that's a good observation, Brett. Like, because the thing is, like, other industries already blame the fans for other things. I'm not going to get into that. So I can see that. Like, the fans aren't receptive. I can see that bullshit. Anyway, let's move on. Next question from Mr. Tumeke. Speaking about console generations, what are your top 3 and why? Ooh, this is a fun one. Who wants to start first?
Top 3
I'll start.
All right, go ahead, Carlos.
In no particular order, the SNES generation, the PS2 generation, and the PS3, Xbox 360 generation / Wii. I think those are the best ones.
Yeah, that's
the last two. The last two have been Bodhi Juice. The Atari, I wasn't alive. The NES is good, but it didn't have the quality of games that the other ones did.
To me, the SNES was like the better version of the NES era. If you think, about
yeah,
it
was. Yeah,
yep. I pretty much agree with what you said. I will put them in order though. Although the first two are always like a toss up, but if I gotta be honest, yeah, PS2 era, right, number 1, followed extremely closely by the SNES era. Those are like the fucking the shit right there. And yeah, PS3 era, 2007 people, like that was the year right there.
Yo, man, fuck generation. Just 2007.
2007. And also I have to honorary mention, even though some of the games did not age well at all, but I had a lot of fun time with it. That the 32-bit era, man. PS1, Sega Saturn. I had some good times with that, especially on Saturn. But yeah, those are my top 3: PS2, SNES, and I'm talking about eras, not just the consoles. So Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega CD, all that shit. Yeah, good times, man. To me, I've said this on the show, and I'll say it again. To me, the PS2 era was like the last pure era of gaming before all this online bullshit fucked everything up. But the PS3 era was still good too. Like, oh man, yeah, the PS3 era is probably the last overall great era. Because like you said, PS4, nah. PS5, hell no. I can't. It's amazing to me how it got worse. Like, how did this happen? Anyway, I'm not gonna rant about that shit. Happy thoughts.
Well, we know why.
Happy thoughts. Go ahead.
We know why, because they're gonna say COVID. We just answered the last question.
Just answered, yeah. Anyway, Brian, your favorite 3 eras of consoles gaming?
It's a tough one because most of them I wasn't really there per se. Again, I guess I'd have to go with similar answer to Carlos because again, the current gen is ass. Gen before that was also going bad. I guess I can say I can work forwards. So favorite definitely PS2 era. I thought that they just had the most games and the best games, and by most games I mean just the most different types of games that you've seen.
Brian,
just the same
would
games.
you say we had more diversity in gaming?
Damn you, Tony. Oh, fuck. Yes, we had the best diversity, and then ever since then, diversity has just died. PS2, probably I go with PS3 after, purely because I like that that's the last time that they had that leap for me in graphics of like, okay, this is like next gen. I still remember that Moonstone trailer, and it still just holds a place in my heart where I was just like flawed. I'm like, no way, this isn't a real game. Turns out it wasn't really a real game, but hey. And after that, I can say, and purely because I didn't own that many games, I'd say the N64 era, which is like the PS1 era.
Yeah.
So purely because I didn't play that many on those gen, so I can't really put anything else there. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. All right, Manny. Favorite 3 console generations?
The Nintendo generation. I would say the 32-bit generation, and then I would say what was, and the 128. That's
PS2.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's PlayStation 2. That's PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, and GameCube, and Xbox officially.
Yeah. Good
So yeah,
stuff.
those 3.
All right. And Brett, what about you? Your favorite 3 console generations?
16-bit era was awesome. I couldn't tell you whether I like my Super Nintendo or Genesis better. Yeah, like I've been an all console guy for fucking ever, so that's just how it continues to be. I want to say the OG Xbox, because I kind of bridged that into it was like the glorious reemergence of Dreamcast after Sega's death.
Although, to be fair, though, the Dreamcast and Xbox were part of the same generation, so you could have both.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of view them as like one continuous thing.
Yeah.
And PS3, I'll be honest, I'm not as enamored with the PS2 generation as everybody was. Because there was
You
a
like
lot
the
of crap. There was a
like the-
lot
yeah.
of crap.
But
On PlayStation.
Xbox is also part of that generation, too.
No, I know. I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. Like, during that generation,
Yeah.
like I have more fond memories of Xbox. Like, I worked at a game store back then. Like, there were a ton of great PS2 games, but there were a ton of terrible PS2 games. Like, it was really tough weeding through them at that point. But there were a ton of winners, and they're ones that I still remember to this day.
Good stuff. All right. And the last question from Mr. What's up? We got
and
another
Adam?
one? Adam already went, didn't he? I could go again. Or if you
No,
did go.
I didn't.
Okay,
There
you
you
go. Yeah. Okay,
So
go ahead.
definitely be Nintendo.
Yeah.
There's NES, the first one, because that was a breakthrough. We were playing games that were in the arcade at home. I remember getting Elevator Action. I was like, damn, I just played this in the arcade, and now I have it at home. The one after that, I would probably have to go with the 16-bit, especially with the Genesis.
Yeah.
A lot of time with the Genesis. But the most important, I think it's because it applies so much now, is definitely with the 360. I know you don't like the whole online thing, but bringing that to consoles, bringing Chivos, bringing that integration, that was a game changer. And it's still part of the industry now. It's a focal point.
Yeah. Don't worry, Adam. I still picked PS3/360 era in one of mine.
You know, and then I remember having, it was a PS2? I think it was PS2. It had a slot in the back, and I'm like, where's the hard drive? When are they going to do this? And it's like they thought
actually
about
did
it.
release it.
Yeah, later on. But I was like, why is this not a focal point? Why? Meanwhile, then the Xbox comes out and it's like, yeah, we already have an 8 gig internal hard drive there for storage, and you can load your music and do all that stuff. I'm like, the PlayStation has something like that, but it's not doing it. You know, and they had the phone line for, I remember playing Tony Hawk and using a dial-up for PlayStation 2. Meanwhile, my Xbox had already an Ethernet port. It's just, it was.
I remember that generation. I'm like, why does Sony have such a shitty, it doesn't have online like Xbox does? And then, or like the hard drive stuff as well.
I mean, it was released quite a bit before that. That generation lasted quite a long time. So, I mean,
well, they posted out that.
But I mean, like, when you look at it, like, they were sort of thinking in advance, but not, like, advanced enough. Like, in other words, think about it. When they started, the only other console to have internet was the Dreamcast, and that was still using phone lines. By the time that Xbox released, we're already in the next,
Well, that was remember
it was
that
already a
song?
long time.
That song that came out because it was one of the guys at the head at the time of Sony when they asked him what's going on with that. And like, well, we've done focus groups and stuff. Our fans are not interested in multiplayer and stuff, so that's not something we want to focus on right now.
And it only released like a year before the Xbox.
You know, they just didn't see the interest in it. They felt that there was no need, that the fans and the community didn't want it. And then later on, they want to push it.
And also vice versa. I was pissed at Xbox. Like, why the hell do I need a fucking remote to play my Blu-ray or my DVDs?
Yeah. What about that? Yeah. That little sneakery they did.
That was, remember that?
I still use a controller. I still use Duke. I don't remember using I never bought that controller thing.
No, because I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, guys in the chat or someone here. I remember if I wanted to play a DVD, I had to buy the remote.
No, I used the Duke. I remember that because I remember putting DVDs.
Well, but you also hacked your system.
But that was later on with XBMC. I know if you wanted to play online, you had to get the disc, you had to install. At the early day before modding and stuff, you had to get a headset. You had to use everything was proprietary. You couldn't just use something you had in your house. I remember that was a pain in the ass because you had to buy that bundle. It cost like $50 or something like that to do everything. But you were getting updates on games. That was a big deal. Seeing games get updates.
So Echo Chrism says that's a me thing. Mighty Nerd says I was right. That's right.
About what?
The needing a remote to play DVDs on the on the original Xbox. I'm gonna have to research this.
Yeah,
it could be one of those things that just I'm making up like my nostalgia, but I'm pretty sure that was a thing. But we'll see.
Mandela effect.
Was it Mandela effect?
Oh man. All right, good stuff. Next up, we got another question from Mr. Tumeke. All right. One thing that confuses me about PC gaming is the fuss made over having the most quote-unquote monster rig or whatever, but I don't see any PC exclusives made to truly take advantage of them, especially given how a new graphics card seems to be released every few years. Being that I am not a fucking nerd, I mean awesome PC guy.
Every few months.
It's like every fucking year. What are the games I'm missing? For no reason whatsoever, I'm going to go to Brian. What are some PC games he needs to be playing?
Also, it was a dongle.
Yeah, and I guess he means like graphically demanding PC games that take advantage of the hardware.
They don't push it that way because that closes the market. Oh,
you can go now.
I was talking to Carlos.
Yeah. No, I want Brian to go first, and then you can jump in, Adam.
Again, as Adam says, like you don't get that many that do push, mainly because it's expensive to do so. Because ultimately, you are targeting like the 1% of the 1% of gamers that upgrade their rigs. I mean, look at the Steam surveys. Like, I don't think you'll find any 40 series card on there because it just doesn't permeate that well in the grand scheme of things. Like, I think most people are probably running like a 10 series card or something. Because that's just how things work on PC. It's like you'll get, again, it's like a bell curve, you know? Damn, love me some bell curves. Like, you always get that peak where it's like, okay, this is like where the people generally are, and that tends to be like the mid-range of cards. So, i.e., the older top-end cards or the current mid-gen cards. And then at the very end, you'll find like, okay, these are the people with like the 40 series cards with like the top-end people. And again, it's just not viable to target those guys because, again, the return on investment is just going to be really bad. So hence you tend to get people that target like kind of mid-range type of place. Graphically, good games. Again, I wouldn't know these days because for the most part I don't care anymore because it's meaningless to me. But I still hear that Star Citizen, if you get into like the alpha, that's looking quite good. I know that Elite Dangerous is also like a really, really pretty looking game, but you don't need a beast rig for that. Like I was able to run it on my 1080 without much problems. So yeah, I can't really help you with that. Like the whole like top end PC people, let's just call them Jagon for no apparent reason. those people exist, and we know that they exist, and they like to show off and buy their cards every single year. That's fine, but most people just buy the same cards and then keep with it for like 3, 4, 5 years, which again I did. I mean, like before I got my 3080, I had a 1080 since pretty much launch, and the 1080 like lasted like 4 years, and then I upgraded to my 3080. So people just don't tend to upgrade as much, and plus, given the prices of these cards these days, I don't blame them. I mean, what, 4080s setting people back, is it like a 800, 900?
Something
Tony?
like that. Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm
something
wrong?
like 4080. Wait, 4080s or 4070s?
4080s.
Oh no, that's a little bit more than that, I think. Let me
Okay.
double check. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that.
Okay, the point was like these like top end cards are like setting people back like the better part of like $1,000, and I don't know about you, but who actually has $1,000 just to splash out on
$1,200, by the way, $1,200 for the 4080.
The
Yeah.
next gen ones are 16.
Who has that much cash just to, okay, I'll just buy a card, and call it a day. Like, it's again the current climate is like no one, well, most reasonable people don't have that money just to throw around on leisure like that. Like, chances are if they have that type of cash, they're going to do it on something else, maybe home improvements, holidays, car, something else. So yeah, it's slowly just becoming like a bigger and bigger dying market. So I don't think we'll see any more next version of Crisis going forward, because again, just a small.
I thought you were going
market.
to say something else.
What do you think I was going to say?
The next version of Christ. When then you say Christ, it all makes
The
sense.
second coming
Which is the
of
same
Crisis.
thing, if you think about
It's
it.
the second coming of Crisis.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think you all can get that. And plus, these days, with like the steps that Unreal 5 is making, it's just kind of becoming like a moot point. Because again, if you can get, like, did you see that demo of the Jeep that they had driving through like the world?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
That was pretty good.
That thing had like 17 million polygons. I was like, wait, what? Like, that's the point that we're at. Like 17 million. I think. What is it? I think Kratos on PS3 was around about 1 million, give or take, and yet that was just the polygons for the tire. And it's like, wow, So yeah, I don't think we're going to see much Crisis going forward.
Yeah, Brian brought up all the good points. It's there really is no incentive for game makers to make games for the uber high end PCs, because there's just really not as big of a market for them. So there's sort of the catch-all games that play for most modern PCs, and I guess what people get to show for, and I think someone asked, I think it's Blitz asked, this is why the PC Master Race confuses me. I guess the only thing that they have over other people is just the fidelity of what regular games can look like. For example, when you play Cyberpunk on sort of the ultra settings with everything on, all the bells and whistles, it looks significantly better than what you would play like on a PS5. But it's not something that is really, how would I say it? It's not something you can like just be like, oh, it looks like that much better that I need to pay $2,000 for. It's not really that. It just looks like a sort of just a slight step up, not a generation's worth of steps up in this sense. So yeah, no. Nothing really to show for that's that significant these days. Crisis was the exception. Crisis blew up machines, and I tried to run it and it was a mess. But man, that first day you can shoot trees, the trees would fall down. That shit was crazy on my PC.
So he says that's why PCMR confuses him. Okay, it's
Well,
interesting.
It's their whole idea that the games were created on PC, so you're playing it on a similar type of. If you have all the bells and whistles, you're playing on the type of the box that it was originally created on. So in theory, you could max out and get that super high performance if that's what you want. And also, you don't really have to worry about too much of exclusives, especially nowadays with Sony porting over a lot of their exclusives to PC. So it's like, why do we have to worry about getting the next generation console when all we have to do is upgrade a video card and it's all in one box? It's already here. We don't have to keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other part of it. It's not just about like the graphics, right? It's about the fact that, no matter how many times you upgrade your PC, you're always going to have access to the same games, and there's always ways to get games. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to sail the high seas. But basically, like when you get a new console, like traditionally, you may not have access to your old games. But with PC, you're good to go. So that's a big part of it as well. But yeah, I'm kind of like Brian in a way. Like I upgrade every 5 years or so. I think that's fine. But personally, I just like playing games at like whatever the recommended setting is. Like it's like when you go to like the developer page or whatever to go here are the recommended specs. I want that. And those usually last you for a good while. Like I had a 1080. For like 5 years, I was good. And then I got a 3080 Ti. I'm probably going to be good for a while. I probably won't even have to upgrade to like the 60 series or something, So I'm all right. And right now, I don't have to choose between ray tracing or 60 frames. I get both, maybe more frames.
Can we talk about why?
What happened?
We talk about why for a second.
Brian explained why, But
I mean,
you can explain
one side of it. The other side of it is that most of the games are developed with consoles in mind, and consoles are actively holding back PC games.
Yeah, that's been happening for a while, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, when you look at your market, and that includes not just average PCs, but all the consoles in the range of low to mid-range PCs, you're going to try and aim for that. So it's all you do is separate yourself both from the PC market and the entire console market, which I would argue is probably a bigger chunk.
Yeah, but like Brian said, also not everybody, even on PC, has the highest end shit.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Brian? You could tell me. Doesn't Steam didn't they release a thing where like they showed you the graphics cards people usually use? Like they're not super high end stuff.
Yep, I'm actually checking them just now. Yeah. So if you bear with me, I can.
That's why. This is what I love about Steam. They just give you all the stats. No
give me the stats.
Yeah, so we'll give you a second to check that out. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, not everybody has a super high end PC, and consoles are the bigger market. So the games are really made. They're the lowest common denominator. That's why you're not seeing Crisis.
Sure, if anything, it's not even so much that they want to say it's the master race of PC games. Because think about it, they've embraced the Steam Deck. Yeah, they could have easily shunned it, like I got a PC already, and it's more powerful than whatever you got in that handheld. But no, they embraced it. They love it. Were the focal point when it comes to who was buying it at first, because they already had the collection to port over, and it's been working out great. So. Sometimes it's not even all about that. It's just the accessibility that a PC offers.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You could, mod it however you want.
That's exactly everything you want. Yep. If your console choice, platform of choice, whatever, decides to close up an eShop and abandon all those games, don't worry, because you can find them all on PC and then just play them on your PC or on your Steam Deck. There you go.
Yeah, just access them wherever, especially now.
All right, managed to get some stats for the Steam hardware survey, and it's as I expected, pretty much. So most common graphics cards, and keep note that this is like tiny percentages, are the GTX 1650, followed by the 1060 and the 3060 laptop, with like 6%, 5%, and 5%.
Oh wow!
So those are the most common. In case you're wondering, I seen the 3080 somewhere. Where did you go? Okay, no, I don't have time. The 40 series card, the top 40 series, most common 40 series card is the 4090 with 0.3%.
Damn, that's no one. I
But that's the top one.
That's Jagon, you know.
That's Jagan.
4080 has 0.19% of people. So that's like percentages of percentages there. It's you are not getting anything major. And of course the AMD cards, they're harder to find because there's not that many of them. But even then, like the top one that I found on the list is the 6900 XT with 0.21%
Damn.
of Steam users in the survey. So yeah, it's all just percentages of percentages at that point. Oh my gosh, lots of people are oh wow. Sorry, I'm just looking at the stats, and there's quite a lot of people that are running the integrated graphics cards.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like I'm looking at like the Intel ones, like the Intel UHD ones, and they come in the top Intel integrated graphics cards is the Iris Xe.
Yeah.
Don't know what that is.
That's like
1.
ubiquitous for all productivity laptops.
Okay, 1.65%.
Wow.
So
then what are they playing?
Games barely
maybe
run on those fucking
That's
things.
what I'm saying. It's got to be some low end games that they play that they don't care. They boot it up and it works, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
You can run. I mean, a lot of the top games on Steam are not even that demanding, even for APUs.
Unless
like
they're cloud based. If they're playing
Count-
a cloud based version, they could do that.
Yeah, or Counter Strike.
Yeah, that's
Those type
true.
of games,
That's
Dota.
true.
Oh, this is fascinating. So I found the 3080. I think it's top 15. I can't count, but the interesting part is the 3080 has pretty much 2%, and then, funny enough, as the graphics cards get more frequent, the lower down the spec they are. So in terms of most popular of the 30 series cards, it's 3060 followed by 3060 Ti, followed by 3070, and then 3080. So the lower end ones are more popular than the high end ones. You know, for comparison, 3080 has 2% and 3060 4.2%. So 3060s are like twice as more common as the 3080s.
Yeah, because it's more affordable, you know?
Exactly. You know, so again, like, so why would people be trying to make games for like the 3090s when people don't have it per se?
Yep, pretty much. All right, Blitz, I hope that answers your question there. That was a good segment. That was good. Thank you for asking that. All right, next up, we got Kiss Shack in the house. All right, how many publishers... Oh, this is interesting. Brett, this one's for you, man. Hope you're around.
I'm ready.
Okay, he goes, how many publishers would Microsoft have to purchase for you to say, all right, Microsoft, cool your jets, you've purchased enough of the industry?
I think we're probably about at that point.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, the acquisition, if the Activision thing goes through, like, that's pretty big.
I don't think we're there.
I say just about. Like, I can't think of, like, do I want them to pick up a big company like Ubisoft? Not really. No.
Adam does.
Heh.
No, I want them to pick up IPs. I think that's what they should do.
Yeah,
That should be the
I
next
would agree
step.
with that.
Pick up IPs. Pick up some of the ones that no one wants to do anything with. Pick up the Splinter Cell and pick up Titanfall. Just gobble up. Just talk to these publishers. Say, hey, what are you not doing anything with that you're willing to offload?
Man,
and we'll just continue.
It has been a minute since Titanfall 2, now that I think about it.
A long time.
Yeah, I will disagree slightly with Brett. I think there's two studios that I would like Microsoft to acquire. That is Studio Moon and Studio MHDR. Because I just feel like they'll be like pretty good fits with Microsoft and what they're doing. They've already worked with each other in the past, so
I would disagree. I guess what I'm saying, like, I don't want to put a hard stop on it. Like, what I'd like to see Microsoft doing, and I've been kind of saying this for years, I'd like to see them start looking in smaller and smaller talent pools. So, like, maybe acquiring small upcoming studios to fold into their things, or like I've always thought companies should really be looking at the people modding their games when they're looking on who to hire, because not only does it show talent, but it shows ambition and dedication to what they're doing, and they actually love, whatever they're doing. So I just don't want to see any gigantic acquisitions that are going to eat up like 20% of the industry. I don't think they've had a lot of those. I think Bethesda and Activision would be the big ones. Like Team Ninja, like, yeah, sure, that's fine. They were barely AAA anyway, and they were kind of sunsetting. They needed a little bit of distance. And that's the other thing. Like, again, context matters. There's, a lot of companies that they're not doing real great, and it's whether it's money or management or talent, they're lacking in some department. And I think having a larger infrastructure that can share resources is a good thing. So I don't necessarily always see it as like they were gobbled up, like like a fucking lion chasing down a gazelle. Like sometimes these guys were on their last legs anyway, and they kind of got pulled from the fire. So as long as it's not Ubisoft or EA or any of the big ones, like I'm even on the fence with BioWare, honestly. Like, BioWare may need some fucking help, man. I'm not sure if they're doing real good.
Yeah. I mean, we've said this many times. Like, if Dragon Age fails, like, or Mass Effect, because I know they're working on another one, EA, man, you know how they are,
Yeah, that's one of the things where I can see, because it's been mentioned with IPs, but what about studios within bigger publishers?
Yeah.
So EA letting go of BioWare, be like, hey, Microsoft, do you want to take BioWare off our hands? Sure, I would be for that, because I just, even if it's Sony doing it, I wouldn't mind either, because I just want them to move off. But and we've talked about this before. A lot of higher management and stuff, and a lot of the people that worked in BioWare previously aren't there anymore. So who knows if it's even worth it? But yeah, with EA, it's just not working.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Last question of the night, people. See, man, we rung a lot of these questions, so that's good. Out of all of PlayStation's dead and irrelevant shooter IPs that they own, which one would have the best chance of succeeding in the year of our Lord 2023 and beyond?
All right, Brian, your turn.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
See,
There's only one.
the funny thing is, he said would have the best chance of success now, and the question, and I don't think any of them would, unless they change that much. But then they alienate the people that liked him in the first place. Because again, right now, Fortnite rules, right? You can't argue that. Like, given whatever Epic is doing, it's just top game for whatever reason, fine. And it means that you have to take whatever game it was and make it try and fit in that Fortnite space, and none of them can, because they're just way too serious. So it's kind of a catch-22 where they kind of don't have anything that they can force into that Fortnite space. I mean, can you really expect SOCOM to be like Fortnite? Like, no.
I mean, I would argue that Fortnite has always existed in idea. I mean, it's, to a certain extent, it's the same idea behind Smash Brothers. It's just a toy box game, man. What if I took all these different characters and just fucking slammed them together? I'm gonna have Sonic the Hedgehog fight this Barbie. It's just, I think even as, like, maybe I'm the only one, but like when you sat around as kids, like figuring out what games might be, like one day they're just gonna make a game that has like all kinds of characters, and you just throw them in there and like have a free for all duke out kind of deal where your GI Joes are fighting your Transformers kind of thing. Like I remember being 10 and talking about that shit.
Yeah. The thing is with this question is you specifically, Kishak specifically said irrelevant. So if they're irrelevant, why would they succeed now? But
I mean, because that's how Fortnite started.
Yeah, but he's talking about like titles that were already like tested and failed. You know, like
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like most of the time an idea succeeds, they're the second or third people to do it.
yeah. Brian, just say Mag. Just say Mag.
Mag is a cool idea. I just don't think it's going to work. I was thinking more something like Resistance.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I was waiting
Because-
for it.
I think it's just different enough from the rest of them. Again, it's not a military shooter as such. Again, it has aliens, so you can kind of play off that idea. Whereas the rest are kind of like, okay, military shooter. Again, Killzone, military shooter. Mag, military shooter. SOCOM, military shooter. Like, it's just military shooters. They're kind of a bit difficult to mold. Whereas Resistance, you kind of could mold it in like a weird, wacky way. Where it's like, okay, cool. Let's throw in like weird, wonderful aliens that kind of like imitate certain brands or mock certain things, you know, like you find like a giant blue hedgehog. Like, oh yeah, it's a Sonic reference, you know. I don't know.
But
You're a bit more creativity with them, I think.
but I have to ask the obvious question though. The game didn't do well initially, so why would it succeed now? Like, there's a reason it got shelved. You know.
Maybe the story was whack. Maybe they can just get new writers.
Granted, they did make 3 of them, so there was something there. But I'm like, how come we're not seeing it now? Like, what is it about that game that made it just be like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore?
Well, because
I think if you limit it that much, Tony, there's just no room for discussion.
No, but I'm asking the question.
I'm telling you, it becomes self-evident at that point. Like, if a game, by definition, is irrelevant because history forgot about it, but it doesn't count if history forgot about it because history showed that it wasn't a good idea. Like, it just leaves you no more runway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, I have to ask the question. Like,
I and that's what I think the answer to the question is. To answer that question, you have to, in good faith, not think of it quite that way.
I also
Otherwise-
yeah, Carlos, you go ahead because I think you know where I'm trying to go with this.
I feel like with Killzone, I mean not Killzone, with Resistance, the main reason why it failed is because it was still at the height of Halo and at the initial boom of Call of Duty. So it was really like situated in a no-win situation at that point. Even though, I mean, Resistance 3 wasn't as good as Resistance 2, but there's still all 3 solid games by a studio that still exists today, that is still making great games, that can, I feel like they can make a great game if they want to, a great first-person shooter game if they want to. And other than Call of Duty, and what Apex Legends are like the top first-person shooting games out there. Trying to think if there's another one,
Fortnite,
but
you know.
well, that's a third-person shooter.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about first person. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, if Resistance can bring back single player campaigns, if they can, and I like Brian's idea with making, having fun with it, because it is Insomniac after all. So having something like a Sonic the Hedgehog type of villain, like alien looking kind of thing, experimenting like that would be pretty fun. It would get people's attention. And they had, their villains. Remember, a lot of their villains were like these massive, over the top type villains. So there were, I feel like there could be a place for this, because there really aren't making games like that anymore.
Spider-Man. That's it.
Yeah, they're making Spider-Man. You sound a little bitter about that, Adam.
No. I mean, that's their job. It's one of those. It's sort of like the 343 coalition. It's like, you just make Gears, you make this. That's their focal point. It's just to keep pushing out Spider-Man.
Well, they also made a Miles Morales game.
That's still Spider-Man. Still Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, and they're making Wolverine, so who knows how that's gonna go. But yeah, I would be down. Oh, and Adam, they made Ratchet and Clank. Let's give them some credit.
Sunset Overdrive.
They
Yeah,
made Sunset Overdrive too. They made not Hades. What's the name of that fucking? It starts with an F.
Funruckers.
Fuck.
Fuse.
Yeah,
Fuse.
There you go. Yeah. Again, I have to just be obnoxious about this. What can these games do now to make them a success that didn't happen the first time around?
Better story, gameplay mechanics. Maybe that was a downside. Maybe they didn't have the technology to have the depth and just had the fog of war and all the scenes. It was like, well, now we could have that draw distance. We could make this a real open world experience, running around chasing aliens and stuff.
Okay, let me give you a decent example. Red Faction. I think that you could do destruction mechanics so much better now than you could then. But for the most part, it's kind of a thing that's been abandoned, even though everybody still kind of wants it. It's this weird... Environmental destruction feels like a dream that we just put on the shelf and decided that was not going to happen.
Because remember, Bad Company did it also, EA, and that was amazing, and people still didn't bother. They're like, whatever.
I think it's probably really hard to do, and it's just one of those things. Like when I became a child, when I became an adult, I put away childish things like a hope for destructible environments.
Remember, Crackdown 3 was supposed to have that. That was their big selling point, and they couldn't pull it off. So,
well, and I think what the industry, I think what the industry came to was at the time they're like, this is something we really want to do, but we can't really find a way to smoke and mirrors it, and that's the only way we can do it because we don't have the computational power to actively do all this stuff. So I think they just kind of decided like, nope, not something everybody can do. And I think, God, what's that one what was the recent one that was all about mayhem and destruction? I can't remember the fucking name of it. Not like recent, but like
destructible environments.
It was supposed to be Crackdown 3.
Yeah, it was Crackdown 3. That was the one that
you saw how that worked out.
That's what I was like.
It was just their multiplayer. That was a VR role.
Well, and even then, like the destruction in Crackdown 3 kind of felt like it took a bit of a nosedive towards the end. You're like, now it feels like when a tree explodes. You see it break and then it kind of hit and fall over and then it just kind of like fades away. I actually saw somebody showing the difference between the destructible environments in like what was it, Far Cry 2 and Far Cry 5 or something like that, and it's amazing how much worse they have gotten. It's you watch the Far Cry 2 and like, you'll be able to blow things up and you see the twigs actually shoot in every direction, like bounce off of things, and like the tree like actually hit and fall over and break down and then lay in the ground kind of as cover. And then it's almost just like in the new one, somebody plays an animation of a tree being destroyed, then it floats, just disappears. We've actually gotten way worse with destructible environments instead of better. So I guess it's just something people don't really care about. At least until somebody does it remarkably well. Because I'll tell you, I'll play the fuck out of that game.
Yeah, I agree with Brett. There has to be I hate to call it a gimmick, but like something that sets it apart from everything that's going on right now. Even if it's a mechanic that has been used in the past or maybe underused, that people can gravitate towards. And I feel like with a lot of them, like Halo, what they did is like, let's Halo Infinite. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it like every other game. Make it like The Division, like Destiny, like all these games, and that's why it wasn't a success like its predecessors were, and Epic and Fortnite hit a niche. So did Apex Legends. Call of Duty has been riding the wave for fucking decades now. So there has to be a game that is in the same realm. It's a shooter game, but it sets apart from the rest.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about some of these games? But again, there's something we talked about before. You like with regards specifically if you're trying to make like a Call of Duty killer. It's like, because remember, that's been brought up a lot. It's like, what does Sony have that can compete with Call of Duty? Nothing. People have tried for like 20 years now,
what is the Sony Halo or what is the Sony Call of Duty? They have not been able to crack that code. And will they be able to even crack that code with actually Bungie being one of their studios? Who knows?
Bungie's the only company that I know that was able to capture lightning in a bottle twice. So if anybody can, it's that. I mean, that's the brilliance of that acquisition in a nutshell, right there. Like
They have a
Sure,
track
buy it
record.
for Destiny, but also buy it because these motherfuckers seem to have the golden goose.
Come on,
Respawn
Sony. Come on, Sony, bring back Marathon.
Yeah, man, I just think it's telling how, like, last year when we were doing our year-end special, we were talking about the biggest news stories of the year. Obviously, the Activision one was big. None of us mentioned the Bungie deal. That's how big the Activision deal was in comparison, you know?
Yeah.
Even though in a normal year, that would have been a really big fucking deal, you know?
I mean, I still feel like it is. Like,
It
there's just so
absolutely
much-
is. It's just you have this bigger one that happened, you know?
Oh,
Dude,
because
but
it's only that one game. That's why. As opposed to gobbling up all these other ones.
it kind of feels to me like, especially like the irony here is in the fanboy Twitter wars, it just feels like there's bullets slinging overhead, and then you look over at this giant fucking mortar that says PlayStation now owns the thing that made Microsoft Xbox famous. And like, it's just, I'm surprised people aren't using it more as ammunition because it's kind of a big fucking deal. Not only
Yeah,
was
it
it,
is.
you know, these motherfuckers put these guys on the map and then left and did it again. That part really fucking important.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You need to
how-
also
Yeah.
remember that again, the Bungie acquisition. Even Sony had stated that like they'll be under the Sony branch, but they won't be doing anything exclusive for Sony per se. So hence, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, it's Bungie owned by Sony, but potentially it could just be okay. Bungie puts the games on everything.
Yeah, they're always going
Maybe
to
that's not why it's blowing up.
They're not doing exclusives.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, right. All right, man. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's just when I think about all this stuff, games and then studios,
Yeah.
it just doesn't sense. For example, like Grand Theft Auto, for the longest, it's like, oh, what's going to be the Grand Theft Auto 5 killer? What's going? There is
Yeah,
none.
there
That's
is
it.
none, yeah.
That's it.
They've
It's
been
done.
trying. They've
It's just
been
like-
trying. Yeah.
They've tried. They've tried.
According
Mario
to
Kart.
some people in the show, it's gonna be Grand Theft Auto 6. That's gonna be the
Yep.
It's gonna be
It's
the
still within the
Rockstar
franchise.
killer.
Yeah, there you go. It's gonna be its own thing. You know, but Mario Kart, the best kart. There's a lot of good kart races out there, but still, Mario Kart is king. It's one of those things. Sometimes you just
don't
have to
sleep on Mod
accept
Nation
it.
Racers.
No, forget that one. I mean, you know, it's good. Sonic and the All Star one, Transform.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
I
a
heard-
really
I heard-
good one.
yeah,
That was
I heard-
awesome. Been playing that on Steam Deck.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, it's a good one. Good one. There's right now. Speaking of that, the Humble Bundle has a lot of these on sale. $10.
Wonder.
You get a whole bunch of. It's all kart racing. All kart races for PC. But we've always talked about this, and it doesn't have to be a killer, but they can make one that's just comparable. They're just up there. For the longest time, people thought Saints Row was going to be that one. It's like, oh, there's one big open world gangster type. Of course, Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row. Well, that they've fallen off. There's only Grand Theft. So when it comes to shooters, there was Battlefield, right? That was the second runner-up, and then that's fallen off. So there's nothing. There is nothing. So it really is. And whoever decides they want to invest money and try to create something in that space, that first-person shooter, and yeah, Destiny has that. But if you really look in the big picture, and we're like, oh, look at Destiny. Well, Destiny is just the open-world version of Halo with Master Chief type of thing because it plays so much like it. It's just Microsoft didn't go down that road. They just wanted to make a single-player type story experience, and Bungie was like, man, we want to go open world, but that's what it is. It's what Halo could have been.
Yeah, it's true. And well, you know, they kind of semi-tried, and you know, with Infinite, and you know, well, we saw how that.
I wouldn't even call that there was nothing. Every location looked the same. There was no different environments. Where's the winter area? Where's the snow? Where's the desert? Throw something. It all looked the same. Every location looked the same. It was so boring, so bland.
Remember how Halo Infinite was supposed to be the game to save Xbox?
Well, they were hyping because they spent all this time doing it. And with the title Infinite, it sounds like, oh, wow, you're going to keep building on this. It's going to be amazing. This is the Destiny killer.
Yeah.
This is it. And that did not happen.
That's funny, man. Think about that. The Destiny killer, you know.
Because remember, the trailer showed Master Chief with like a cloak, remember? It was like a snow,
Yeah, no, I remember, but
it
it's
was
just
a
like,
storm or
you know.
something. He doesn't even wear that in the game. That doesn't even happen in the game. So I'm like, what is this?
But it's like we're gonna try to take on the game made with the franchise that these guys made.
Yeah,
you know.
they left them a shell. That's it. They're like, here, take this and see what you can do with.
That shit is crazy, man. All right, people, that's it. Good stuff. Oh, look at that, an hour and a half. Perfect. Throw down. You already
Dun,
know.
dun, dun.
Good stuff. All right, do we have anything to plug? I guess that's it until
Nothing.
for a while, right, Adam?
Yeah, till May. Yeah,
I am Negan's on hiatus.
Until Fear the Walking Dead comes back. They're doing a 7-year time jump, which is crazy. 7 years. Why 7? We'll they decided to do a 7, and that comes was it May 14th, and then we got Dead City and all of them. That's coming June, July. They pushed all these dates back because that was right now, starting the beginning of April was supposed to be Fear, and they were like, no, we're pushing it. So there's got to be stuff going on with AMC, maybe some.
There you go. 1 minute, 1 hour and 30 minutes.
No, that's got to have something. No, but it's different. They must have some other shows that they want to push in that slot. That's not Walking Dead related. This is the longest drought we've ever had. No dead content.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Good stuff.
And shout out to Succession. It's finally back.
Yeah, Succession's back. I'm going to watch that tonight. But then, one little thing I was going to say is that The Last of Us didn't replace The Walking Dead because they put almost no zombies or monsters or anything.
So you're saying some Lifetime shit?
Yeah, exactly. So it gave us the story, but they didn't give us any of the other stuff. So still, when it comes to monsters and zombies on TV, Walking Dead's still king on that.
Yeah, I remember like people complained there weren't enough zombies sometimes on that show, but I guess.
Bro, you know what I was thinking?
What's up?
Like you want to talk about a grimdark story that actually works? Let's start seeing some 40K shit.
Oh, Warhammer.
Yeah, dude, like that universe is fucking dark, and everybody in it is terrible. It's perfect.
Yeah, maybe they should adapt that.
Dude, I'm telling you, that should be the next Game of Thrones style adaptation.
Oh, real quick before I forget, because you're talking about games and adaptations. Remember that show I told you I was watching, the one with Orlando Bloom, with the Pixies and all that stuff going on, and it's a cop, Carnival Row. That's based off of a game. That's a board game. It's a turn-based.
No, really?
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. They were like, oh, it's very true to the game, and and all the story arcs and stuff. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons type of thing. It's a board game. And
there's a lot of stuff going on the tabletop scene. Mm-hmm. And actually, interestingly enough, I just sent this to some of my D&D friends. There's a tool called Alchemist AI that's actually using AI in a really interesting way to help you kind of generate dungeons and stuff, so that you can kind of, as you're going, be like, oh, I need a laboratory right here. Boom, it kind of auto builds a laboratory and then lets you use the assets kind of to broadcast to your player's screen. We're going to see a singularity here in not too long where you have what is actually essentially a D&D game. Like a thing where a dungeon master can curate and build experiences for people on the fly. That's going to be pretty neat. Because you asked Tony, I half-assed a lot of these solutions back when we were playing.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can find us on any podcast app on the planet by searching for Throwdown Show. That's towards Throwdown Show, throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you've been watching us on YouTube and enjoyed the content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Adam Vale.
Go see John Wick.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
And Brian Majoma.
Apparently, a working title for Ant-Man 3 was going to be Ant-Man, the Wasp, and the Wife Beater.
Oh, God, no.
He's a wife beater, too?
Oh, you haven't been keeping up, have you, Adam?
I can't follow all the drama on the internet.
Oh, man. Let's just say he's in major trouble,
Wait, is this the main dude?
Kang. It's Kang.
I don't know who that guy is. I thought you were talking about the dude from...
No, we're talking about Jonathan Majors.
Ghostbusters.
Some shit's going on.
Oh,
Anyway, we'll
And
we'll be back on Thursday, people. Later.
I haven't watched that one.
Peace.